All right. Microphone is on. Hi guys, I'm 𝘰𝘕𝘳𝘴 and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I literally just got off work and I'm home. I've been home for like 2 minutes and woo! It's like not as cold, but like still cold. Like my hands feel hot, but like they're still cold. So yeah. Also, I've been listening to Mariah Carey's Obsessed on repeat. I don't know if it's like a mental illness or what, but I literally just like cannot stop listening to it. It's so good. So I love the part where she's like, ain't gonna feed you, I'ma let you starve. Like, period. But in this video, I wanted to do a video basically titled Gaslighting and Blame Shifting. Because, I mean, honestly, this video was going to be made at some point, so why not do it today? But while we get into the topic of gaslighting, which who doesn't love to be gaslit, am I right? We're going to get the definition. Gaslighting is a form of psychological manipulation in which the abuser attempts to show, this is way too much information. Okay, what is an example? Denying that event took place, even if there is evidence to prove it. So gaslighting is making you feel like something didn't happen when it did. And, you know, when it comes to gaslighting, there's no amount of proof or evidence that you can provide that will change the narrative, right? When someone decides that they're going to gaslight you and they're going to change the narrative, change the actual structural DNA of what happened in that situation. You could have every fact lined up with timestamps, screenshots, a calendar, literally like have a video, for fuck's sake, of the actual event of the gaslighting. And that person will still basically deny that it had ever happened and, you know, almost like shift the blame on you, or like because they're denying it happened, they usually try to flip it or switch something onto you to make it seem like, oh, well, that never happened, but you act like this and da-da-da, and then there's like the manipulation aspect, right? So gaslighting is awful. I don't know why. Actually, I do know why someone would gaslight. If they can't take accountability or apologize or hold space for you, or acknowledge that what they did could potentially hurt you, or they can't face what they've done, usually they'll gaslight you to take the weight off of them and try to rationalize the situation in a way where it's like, oh, well, that didn't happen. And usually it's because maybe they didn't mean it to happen like that, or they didn't intend for it to happen like that. But when you gaslight someone and you try to deny the existence of what happened, or try to deny the reality, you know, to protect yourself, you're also really, really hurting that person, because they're having to question reality, their sanity. They question, like, did that happen, or did it happen like this, and da-da-da-da. And it can be a really selfish place to put someone in, because then they have to start questioning themselves and their reality and the truth of the situation. You know, in relationships and friendships, gaslighting is awful, because if you can't take accountability and you can't hold the space and you can't admit that you did wrong, or at least acknowledge what happened and apologize, you'll never move forward with those types of people. You'll never move forward with these people. You know, it's just an endless kind of loop of zero accountability and zero ownership and zero awareness to the situation, really, or like what happened, or your truth. I don't even know if I said hi, you guys, at the beginning of the video. Like, I literally just sat down after work and I'm like, did I even say hi to the camera? Oy vey. And blame shifting. So blame shifting, I feel like, could be another word for gaslighting. Gaslighting is usually like denying something happened. Blame shifting is where you not only like maybe potentially deny that it happened, but you shift the blame onto the other person to take the heat off of yourself. So, you know, when you blame shift, if someone comes to you and they're like, hey, this happened, it really hurt me, or hey, I was waiting to hear from you and I never did, and I was just kind of wondering what happened. And instead of that person being like, I totally understand where you're coming from, I totally get it, I'm so sorry, this happened, or at least opening the conversation, they go, well, you didn't do this. Well, you didn't do this, and you didn't do this, and you didn't do this. So that's usually, if they say that's why it happened, that's manipulation. But if they say like, you didn't do this, and you didn't do this, and you didn't do this, they're basically blaming you and trying to make it so that you have to apologize, or you have to hold space, or you have to take accountability for what happened instead of listening to what hurt them, right? When you blame shift, you're not only not taking accountability for what that person has come to you with and actually understanding their side of the situation, you're just turning the mirror and saying, well, you did this, and you did this. And it's an endless battle of like no accountability, no forward movement. There's never a chance to rebuild and to actually like move to a place of resolution or to open the lines of conversation, because you're both, well, not both of you, but you bring up an issue and then they blame shift directly back at you. And how a lot of this correlates is, we touched on like, if you bring up an issue and they switch it and blame shift onto you what the issue was, and then you were like, I was really upset about that, and like, you're kind of blaming me right now. And they're like, that never happened. Then they start to gaslight, right? And then after gaslight, they say, I wouldn't have done all those things if you wouldn't have done this, right? So not only are they blame shifting again, but they're also manipulating you by blaming you for the reason why they did those things, right? By saying, you did this, and the reason I did this is because you did this. It's just blame shifting back onto you, and then manipulating the response to something that benefits them or makes them look like they won in the situation, none of which is healthy, by the way, like none of which is healthy. And none of which is healthy, none of which is productive, none of which allows you to get anywhere. This applies to friendships, romantic relationships, even it could even relate professionally. It really just depends on every dynamic or what dynamic you're in. But when you practice what you preach and you practice doing good will return to you. And or lessons will show up that you have to face that suck, but if you pass the test, then you'll do better and you'll learn from that experience. But it's almost literally impossible, and a lot of these characteristics come from narcissistic people, but it's almost literally impossible to have a relationship or to have a healthy, successful relationship with someone that blame shifts, gaslights, manipulates, deceives, lies, or is narcissistic, because, relationships, whether it's friendship, love, interest, or professionally, require a level of reflection, accountability, ownership. You have to hold space. And, the better you become at doing all of those things, the better and stronger those relationships come, the more you're able to progress, And I feel like sometimes in our society and in our culture, it's almost normalized to have those toxic traits or tendencies because it's normalized and it helps you progress professionally, or it helps you progress, maybe in friendship circles if, acting that way, gets you connections or whatever people do nowadays. But, it's very real, and it's almost normalized to the point where people act that way, just kind of second nature. So I don't know. I just finished work and I'm so sleepy this time of year. It just really gets me. But the coldness has subsided for the most part, and it's really, really nice out. That's a lie. In my mind, if it's not -40, it's nice out, and it is -10. So that's a nice break from -40. But I'm so excited to have 2 days off. I can't wait, actually. I got most of the stuff I needed to get done during the week, like doing my nails and shaving my body, and my house is clean, so I just have like laundry and a couple things to do. But I'm looking forward to having some time off and to resting and recuperating and reflecting, and then going back into it. So yeah, I love you guys so much. Thanks for tuning in to my 22nd diary entry of the month. I will see you guys tomorrow on my next diary entry, and I hope you have a good night. Bye, guys.